Welcome back to the program. Joining us now from Singapore is political analyst James Dorsey. James, welcome to the program.
Umar, it's a pleasure to be with you.
James, let's start with the SCO summit. I was just talking about the summit with Dr. Mehmet. I want to know your opinion. Do you think that this summit could challenge American dominance and, lend weight to China's vision of a multipolar world?
Well, I think there's no doubt that the Trump administration's policies are driving members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization together. Having said that, we're already, with or without the Trump administration, moving to a bipolar, if not a tripolar world, in which you have the United States alongside China and eventually India. And that's a world in which second-tier powers like Turkey, but also like other members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, will be diversifying or already diversifying their international relationships and are hedging their bets. But in that tripolar world, they have a greater degree of leverage and ability to maneuver.
James, I want to read out a statement by Xi Jinping. He said that we must continue to take a clear stand against hegemonism and power politics and practice true multilateralism. How would the United States react to such a statement?
Well, obviously, certainly with this administration, Trump views the United States as the world superpower. He sees China as a challenge, and therefore they obviously are going to take the statement by Xi Jinping with a grain of salt. Having said that, all of these lofty words are lofty words. As a matter of principle, if China, members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, are accusing the United States of hegemonic policies and trying to impose its will, that's true for members of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization also, particularly China and Russia.
James, recently we saw that the United States imposed extensive tariffs on both China and India. But at the same time, India and China are Russia's biggest buyers of crude oil. But the tariffs that were imposed on China were not as big as the ones imposed on India. So why is there a discrepancy, and what are the reasons behind such decisions when the United States targets India but not China?
Clearly, Trump believes that he can strike a deal with Xi Jinping and has been encouraged by the contacts that the United States and the Trump administration has had with China this year. He presumably sees India as much more vulnerable to U.S. sanctions, and therefore I think that's the logic to this discrepancy. It's a logic of power politics, or a perception of power politics, if you wish.
James, tell me about the Indian role at this year's summit, because we were seeing over the past few weeks how Pakistan was targeting the Indian government, saying the floods are because of them. They have opened the floodgates, the dams have been opened, and water has been released into Pakistan deliberately. And even at the beginning of this year, we saw how both of these sides were exchanging attacks, cross-border attacks. We all saw that. How are you, analyzing India's role at this year's summit, and considering that India has had extensive problems with China as well?
Clearly, both India and Pakistan want to leverage the summit in China to their advantage. Fact of the matter is that the SCO, the China Cooperation Organization, has internal problems in the sense that you have multiple states with conflicts or disputes with other members of the organization. And I think that's the perspective in which one has to see India's role, but also the role of others.
James, this organization, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, is the biggest in terms of population and in terms of GDP when combined together. Russia, India, China, obviously big players. How are you analyzing the role of this organization for the Global South?
Well, first of all, the organization is evolving. It's evolving from what was originally a security cooperation organization to a much broader economic cooperation. It does represent a very significant segment of the international community and of the Global South. But I think one also has to temper one's expectations. It takes time for these organizations to evolve and to make their influence felt on the international stage. That's already true with the BRICS, the association in which Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and now more newer members. That organization has yet to really make its mark. I think that's also true, for example, for the Asian International Investment Bank, the AIIB, that China launched. So I think one has to realize that these organizations do not overnight become serious, influential players.
James, I was asking I asked this question to Dr. Mehmet as well a while ago. I want to know your opinion on this. The SCO, they released a statement when it comes to Gaza. They said the only way to ensure peace and stability in the Middle East is a comprehensive and just solution for the Palestinians. Do you think that such statements are enough? And do you think there's any credibility in these statements?
Well, as Mehmet Çelik said, very rightfully so, unless they are tallied with concrete actions, they're empty words. And let's be clear about it. With very few exceptions, one of those being Turkey, as Mehmet pointed out, none of these states have taken action. Russia, China, India, none of these states have taken action against Israel in terms of sanctions, severing diplomatic relations, whatever it may be. In some ways, for example, if you take what happened in Belgium yesterday, where the government took a decision not only to recognize Palestine as a state, but to ban Israeli aircraft, government aircraft, to ban the import of products from settlements in the occupied West Bank, and various other measures, none of the members of the SCO, with the exception of Turkey, has done anything comparable.
James, we cannot end our conversation without discussing Putin. He was also attending the summit, and yet again we saw President Putin blaming NATO and Ukraine. What are your views on his address, his statements? Do you believe that, Putin is only going to end the war on his own terms and conditions?
Putin has made that very clear. I think what we're seeing is basically the limitations of Trump's, if you wish, delusionary perception of his own powers to end conflicts. Sure, he's ended a number of smaller conflicts over the last 6 or 8 months, but he's failed in Ukraine. We were supposed to have a summit by the end of this month between Putin and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. That's not going to happen because simply the terms of such an encounter are just not there, because neither side is willing to really budge. So I think what you saw in the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit was a restatement, a reiteration of Putin's position, rather than any evolution in it.
James Dorsey, thanks for that analysis. It was a pleasure having you on the program.
It's always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you, Umar.
You're welcome. Dr. Mehmet, just before we end the program, I want to take your view on Putin's presence at the summit. What do you make of that?
Well, I think if we put aside the Ukraine situation and the tariffs and the China-India conflict, or India-Pakistan, etc. What I want to say about this summit is that we should not forget that, as James said, it's still an